Okay guys, I've got the Zenith 5S29 hooked back up and playing. And for those out there new in the hobby, you're probably going, oh no, what's going on? It's not a good thing, that's for sure what you hear. Now I've got a couple different issues going on. First of all, let me tell you I've got a problem here with the volume control or the volume potentiometer or taper. You can hear I've got problems here, and probably a good fourth of the range itself. It's like this pot is dead. So I'm going to have to pull it out and see if I can get in there and do some work on it. If I can open it up. I'm not sure if it's sealed or not. I tried to shoot some cleaner into it and no change. But this oscillation that you're hearing, these birdies and squeals, I've had the radio inverted upside down, powered off as I was putting in the Candohm resistor and also stuffing these replacement cans that I made with modern day Electrolytics. And I'll put a link in the video if you're interested in watching how to, or the technique that I use to reproduce these metal cans. I'll describe it. But the issue's nothing but the tube shield itself here. And you can see it worked its way loose. I'll just hold it back down in place. So if you're new to the hobby, just keep that in mind, how important tube shields are. I just wanted to have you guys listen in on that, because you can hear the difference it makes. This is I think AM 730 out of Charlotte, which is about 100 miles from my location. You can hear the difference there with the shielding issue. So anyway, just a little cleanup needs to be done. In addition, still need to dress up some of the wires coming out of the chassis here back to this coil, and I think I had already mentioned in a previous video as well, this IF lead here that goes back to the same tube here I was describing that has the loose tube shield. This needs to be cleaned up as well, so I'll pull this IF filter out of the circuit completely and get that cleaned up as well. So let me show you real quick before we end the video. Flip it back over, and I'm going to just do a slideshow on the new power resistors that I put in to replace the Candohm. And I've still got to do some cleanup around the power transformer. Again, I had to extend those leads off of this transformer because they were frayed almost all the way back up to the shell itself. So some of those need to be shortened still and cleaned up and stowed away. But other than that, she's probably a good 95%, 98% electrically complete. And for those interested, stick with me, because I'm not going to start another electrical restoration after I get this Zenith complete here with a final RF alignment after working in this coil area. I'm going to pull the cabs out, and I've got two 5S29 cabinets, and take advantage of some of the spring weather that's forthcoming, and get out there and get those stripped and apply some new toner lacquer. So if you're interested in a little bit of cab work for a change, stay tuned. We'll get started on at least one, if not two, of the 5S29 cabinets, and then once we get that complete and the lacquer's cure, we'll get the chassis back in and do one final show of the 5S29. You'll see many methods and procedures for mounting new power resistors. In this case, I took some aluminum. It was 1 inch wide, about 1/16 of an inch thick. I wasn't really concerned about the heat dissipation so much. I think my highest wattage, not resistor, but the power requirement itself for the circuit, was just under 3 watts. I'm using 12.5 watt resistors, and there would be very little, if any, heat build up underneath the chassis. So what I did again was use the strip that you see, use some epoxy, place the power resistors down flat, and then I have those secured here with some fasteners as I'm showing. back to the chassis. The good thing about this technique, if one of the power resistors fail, you can just take that mounting piece out and do some troubleshooting or replacement. This was the first can that I actually reproduced, and you can see I've got it mounted and stuff with a modern day electrolytic capacitor. So again, I'm putting a link here in the video if you're interested in seeing the details behind that. I'll show a little bit more here for the second build, but I won't go into quite as much detail that I actually describe or show in the link video. So check it out if you're interested in making your own can capacitors there out of some aluminum stock. So real quick, here's a look at me building the second can. Again, I'm using a modified tubing cutter blade, just made with a washer here. That I'll show some photos here. You can see it just a little bit wider, and again, it creates that indentation there in the tube itself. A softer aluminum. I think this was a 6061. It's been a while since I purchased it. Again, you can go back and reference the other video, and you'll see, but that would make the process a lot simpler and faster. Here again is just the normal cutting wheel that I'll place back in itself to cut just about 1 millimeter above the indentation point. And again, you can see I've got a cap here drilled itself to make it look more authentic for the time. I think the height for these particular Zenith caps are about 4 inches, and then I'll also take some time to try to reproduce the Zenith logo and place that on the cans down the road and show that as well. I pulled out a terminal strip. Again, I needed a tie-in location, or tie-in locations I should say, for the new modern day electrolytics. So got that tied back and actually used one of the screws or fasteners there that attached itself to the power transformer, as you can see. And again, you can see here I'm just wrapping things up, a new AC cord or power cord, followed by a little DC resistance measurement checks just to make sure that everything was in order. Okay guys, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.